Hello, hello. We are back in Chapter 9, Measurement and Geometry, discussing Lesson 4, Introduction to Three-Dimensional Figures. A polyhedron is a three-dimensional figure whose faces are polygons. There are two types of polyhedrons. The first is a prism. The next is a pyramid. So let's talk about prisms. Prisms has two bases that are congruent and parallel polygons. So if you look here, we have a base here which looks like a rectangle. And we have another base on top which is also a rectangle here, and they're parallel to each other. Okay? The other thing that the definition says, the other faces are parallelograms or rectangles. And if you look, all of the other faces, that's a rectangle, 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 and then on the front there's a rectangle. So this is a prism, okay? Yes, if we look at this figure, we're looking at the base. So the base of this one is a triangle. This is a triangle here. This is the front base of the figure. And this is the back base. Back here is another triangle. And those triangles are parallel with each other. So we would call this a triangular prism. This would be a rectangular prism. You name the figures by their bases. So this is a rectangular, it's a prism, so it's a rectangular prism. This is the base of this is a triangle, so it's going to be a triangular prism. But looking, again, if you look at all the faces, this face here, that's a rectangle. This face over here is a rectangle, and then the bottom face is also a rectangle. So the other faces are parallelograms or rectangles. That is a true statement for both of these, okay? So this would be rectangular prism and a triangular prism. Now let's look at pyramids. Pyramids, everything goes up to a point, okay? Do you see that? So a pyramid has one base that is a polygon. Its faces are triangles that meet at one vertex. So if we look here, we have a base that is a triangle, and all of the faces, that shapes a triangle, this shapes a triangle, and this front shape is a triangle, and they all meet at one vertex point there, okay? If you look at this next one here, this base is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a hexagon. So we have a hexagon base for this pyramid. And if you look, all of the sides, they are triangles in shape, okay? And in the back, and they all meet at one point right there at that vertex, okay? So this would be called a hexagonal pyramid, and this would be a triangular pyramid. So prisms and pyramids are named by their bases. You need to go ahead and fill that in. So now we're going to look at a couple examples. Number one, we're going to look at the figure to the right. Its base is that looks like a square to me. Does it look like a square? I think so. We're going to call it a square. And its faces are triangles. And we know that they're all going up to a point. So we're going to call this a square pyramid. Okay? Let's go on to problem 2. Okay, we're going to look at this picture. It has two congruent and parallel bases that are, so if we look here, one base shape is right here. And the other base shape would be right here. And both of these shapes are actually called pentagons. They have 5 sides. So the parallel bases and their parallel are pentagons. And each of the faces, this one right here is a rectangle, this one over here is some type of parallelogram rectangle, this one in the back is a rectangle, this one in the back is a rectangle, and over here we have the same thing, a rectangle. So all of the faces are rectangles besides the bases, so we know, oh, if the faces are rectangles, we can call this a pentagonal prism. All right, perfect. Let's go on to the next page. The next page states if a three-dimensional figure has a surface that is curved, so if a three-dimensional figure has a surface that is curved, the key word being curved, right here, what we know is it is not a polyhedron, okay? So here we have a cylinder and there's a curved surface, so it is not a polyhedron. So we're just gonna look at each of these figures, 3, 4, and 5. Is this a polyhedron? Yes, this would be. It would be called a triangular pyramid. Is this a polyhedron? No, it would not, because it has a curved surface, okay? What about 5? Yes, 5 would be a polyhedron. It would be called, it has a base that's a rectangle, so it would be a rectangular prism. That's what you call that one. All right, great job today, and we will see you next time.